Hey everyone, welcome back to PHAMCAST, this special edition during Preventative Health Awareness Month and Movement. And this year, for the first time ever, although we've had Leslie Spicer as a FAMbassador since day one and a huge supporter, we this year have an actual fascia stretch therapy day on the calendar.
Yes, we do.
February 17th.
Yes.
It deserves its own day.
I think it does.
It does indeed. Yeah. So that was so much fun with Laura talking, about the amazing referrals coming from the Mayo Clinic and really giving people an understanding of the role that fascia can play. But what I was hoping to right now, Les, we could do is talk a little bit about, okay, so we know fascia is connective tissue, but let's dive in a little bit more about what impacts fascia. Like there are so many things that can impact your fascia that people may not even realize.
Yeah, so a big piece of that obviously is the nutrition and hydration. Hydration is huge, right? So we talk, well, as a massage, I'm sure you talk about that with muscles and, and all the things, right? Our body is 70% water, right? So when we're dehydrated, of course that's going to affect our fascia. And the analogy that I give clients, because this has stuck in my head, is we want our tissues, our fascia, to be that kind of plump, juicy grape, right? You feel it, it moves, it does its thing. But you put it in the sun, and what happens?
That shrivels up.
Yeah, it gets dehydrated, right? It doesn't have water, so it becomes hard and rigid, and that's what happens to our fascia, and that's why you feel tight, or if it gets too far, it can cause pain and discomfort.
Yes.
So that's the first step with anybody's. The first question I always ask, and I can tell when I stretch them, but I always ask, do you drink water?
Right.
Do you drink enough water?
And you talk about that, can cause pain, and one of the things that we both can notice when somebody has fascial restriction, it can actually change their posture.
Yes.
Right? And the way they physically look, because it's giving that structure. I'm sure you see that.
Exactly, right? Because fascia, like Laura had said, is from head to toe. We have different fascial lines. They all cross the joint. We have multiple crossing each joint. So even when one line of fascia is affected, it's going to affect how you move that joint. So if it's pulling, for example, the shoulder, you might actually feel it in the hip.
Right. Yeah. That song that we sing to our kids or our nieces and nephews, your knee bones connect, like it's all interconnected. And I always love the visual. You and I love to have fun and do some things. And we've done some videos that will be coming out in the CEO of Your Health Hub where you're in a spider suit, a spider web.
Yeah.
Because that, and showing how when you pull on the web here, where it impacts elsewhere in that web.
Exactly.
So I
think that's another way how FST treatments are different from other therapies as well, and why it has a longer lasting effect for some people, is because even though if you come to me and you're like, I have lower back pain, I'm like, that's good. Okay, but I'm not just going to focus on the back, because the fascia from that area goes all the way up into the shoulder and to the top of the occipitals and all the things. So, that's why when people get off the table, they're like, oh, you didn't spend that much time. But I'm like,
I feel better.
But I feel better. And I'm like, that's how fascia works. So when I show them the diagrams, and they kind of get it. It's like not like muscle where it's compartmentalized. It's more of holistic.
It is, and very integrative, right? It's all interconnected. So hydration's big, but of course nutrition plays a role in fascia as well.
Yeah, so obviously the foods that we eat, right? So if we're going to be eating foods that are inflammatory, that's going to cause a lot of discomfort in the joint specifically. So if I were to kind of describe what fascia stretch therapy does in a nutshell, what my goal is as a therapist is to increase the space in that joint.
Love that
so
visual.
So that everything, your blood vessels, your tendons, your ligaments, your bones, your muscle, everything, your nerves, everything moves, even your lymphatic system.
Yes.
Everything moves better.
Right.
And that's why it has that such profound result, I believe, because it does affect all those symptoms. So when you're eating inflammatory foods, it causes inflammation in the joint, which makes it harder.
And what I loved about what you said is creating that space and all of those structures that can be impacted. That speaks to why and how fascia stretch fits into integrating and working alongside so many other healthcare professionals, whether it be a massage therapist, a physio, an osteopath, a chiro, a physician, a surgeon, because of that. I mean, that's really super cool.
Yeah, and I give this kind of another image to my clients. It's like, think of fascia as the foundation to your movement. So if your fascia is not healthy, your movement's not going to be healthy. But when I do the assessment on somebody, if say for example, I can feel like there's some bones misaligned, I will say, go see a chiropractor, because no matter how much I stretch you, if your bones aren't in the right place, it's going to go back. Or if you have a lot of trigger points, go see a massage therapist, because they're going to be able to get in that and break that up for you. And then my therapy becomes even better.
And so does mine. And that's why, you know, you and I working together has always been beneficial to the people we have the privilege of treating, because we all have our own areas of focus and benefits, you know, in and of themselves, they're powerful. But when we bring them together and that whole better together as one, the outcomes and the sustainability of those outcomes become that much greater. And we've seen that, which has been so cool.
Yeah, and the other point I want to make, and I'm sure Laura and a lot of the other FST practitioners would agree with, is, and I'm going to get this on a testimonial, but all of my clients, and I'm going to put it out there, that have been consistently coming to me for FST, I have nobody on my roster with any back pain.
I love that.
No back pain at all.
That speaks volumes.
Or no like major injuries, or if they do get injured, which is very rare, they come back a lot quicker. And that brings me to the point of a cool study that's happening in Arizona.
Yes.
So shout out to Ann and Chris Frederick, who are Ann was the creator of Fascial Stretch Therapy. She started it, and then her husband, a PT, a physical therapist there in the States, has contributed a lot to the content. That's why we do a lot of soft tissue stuff now and all the things. So they are now in the middle of a double-blind study at the medical center at the University of Arizona, and to prove that FST helps with lower back pain. So that's going to be huge too. That's almost done, or it's done, and now they're going to be writing articles about it and getting it published. Yeah, which is going to be huge.
So exciting, and what a game changer for so many people. Yeah. And from a preventative lens, right? I know, Les, you're starting to do a lot of work with younger athletes, right? And you love that work, but you love it because not only are you athletic and you love kids, and you're a teacher, right? You've got a degree in education. That being said, the preventative lens of that is so important. So especially when we're moving our bodies younger, and the awareness. Can you speak to that? Because I think that's one of the pieces that a lot of people don't realize that fascial stretch therapy does, is that awareness. Like you said, they get off the table and you think, oh, you worked here, but it doesn't hurt there. And making them go inward and actually listening and getting curious about their body.
And one of the things that people say that you wouldn't even think of first off with that kind of stretching is that they feel they have better balance.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that was actually a comment at level 4. We had the privilege of watching Ann stretch one of her pro athletes. He allowed us to watch, and so we asked him what benefit have you gotten, as a pro athlete? And his first thing was, my balance was, so he's a football player, so they're in that low state. He's like, my balance has been like it's never been.
Oh my gosh.
And for them, balance is everything.
Well, and so for athletics, it's performance, but you and I both share a passion for healthy aging and prevention of falls and fractures as a result. You're Bone Fit certified, which we love, because with the new REM bone scan, we're able to work collectively with you. For seniors and healthy aging, I mean, my goodness, I don't think the senior population would realize, because I think, would you agree, Leslie, that people are often nervous to come for a stretch because, I'm not flexible, it's gonna hurt, and you said it doesn't hurt, but can you speak to that? Because it's through the ages and stages of life. Right. FST is for everybody.
It 100% is, and that's, again, the uniqueness of this therapy, is that it can be individualized. So how I stretch a gymnast is going to be a lot different than my 90-year-old client that I have. It's choosing the techniques that we've learned that are most appropriate to that person. So, for example, with somebody that's older, that doesn't move that well, we're going to be doing a lot more circumduction, oscillation, small little wave-like movements. Whereas I get my athletes, I'm going to be, if you see me stretch people, I'm like all over the table, getting their joints moving everywhere. So it's very customized to the client and where they are on the flexibility scale, I say, or the mobility scale. And just to go back to the kids, like in going through the ages, for me it's always been a passion, because the things that I've learned, obviously through stretching, mobility, and nutrition as well, things that I wish I would have learned, before. But now it's becoming, what kind of really opened my eyes is when I started to get those athletes. I was getting excited, but they were not coming to me to improve their performance. They had back pain, 13, 14, 15, plantar fasciitis. So I'm like, there's something going on here. So, the discussion is there's not a lot of mobility work, stretching in these young athletes programs. Right. So I'm very excited that I have my first sports team. It's a under 15 girls, the Impact team in Georgetown, Impact Strikers. They're my first set of girls, and it's a 12-week program about mobility, but also about nutrition. So we've dived in a little bit about nutrition. We're going to talk about, obviously, for their sport, what they should be eating, during the sport, after recovery, rest and recovery, Epsom salt baths, stretch, like all the things, right?
Yes.
But also talking about, I'm just going to lead this in, just about nutrition and their hormones, because that's a huge thing to learn when you're young as well. So that'll be interjected. But I think the younger they see these habits, and my goal isn't that they're going to do every single thing that I tell them, but if they just take one or two things and maybe do one stretch every now and then and implement that into their health plan early, then that'll set them up for the future.
Yeah, and health span, which is what we're all about. And you mentioned hormones. That is across the board. So the young girls, when menarche and when that's happening in puberty, but then you've got the perimenopausal and menopausal women and postmenopause. All of that plays
100%.
A huge impact and role in your fascial health and therefore your mobility and quality of life. Like I'm sure you're seeing that I know that because I work with you, seeing the changes in people's and the quality of life because they are more mobile as a result.
Yeah, and like doing things that they want to keep doing. And that's my tagline. It's always like, what do you want to be doing when you're 60, 70, 80 years old? Right. How do you want to be moving? Do you want to be golfing? I have a lot of golfers. Like, how long do you want to golf for?
Right.
You got to implement, the mobility piece.
Yes. So when you think about where you started with this journey with fascial stretch and where you are now, how excited are you about, and what are some of the things that you really want to see coming? I mean, I know we talked a little bit about insurance, but we're passionate about this. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, my goal is that it is accessible to more people.
Yes.
I am very fortunate. I have clients that see the value in it and see the result and will pay for it. But I also have people that can't.
Right.
And I'm fortunate enough. I have my own business. I can help people as much as I can, but I can't help everybody.
Of course.
And I'm getting really busy too. So it just goes to show like the popularity and the results that people are getting. So my goal is, like you said, to really advocate to insurance companies to help these other people that can't do it otherwise, because I know it, I know it works. I know people feel better, and it's just the matter of now, let's get more people able to be on the table and experiencing this to change.
Totally. And before we go to a break, and we're going to come back with really stocking your toolbox, one of the things we've also done a little bit together, and I'd love to see implemented more, when we think about the impact, we talked about back pain and the study that's being done, the impact that back pain has on corporations and their bottom line when somebody is off on disability in the workplace. Back pain is one of the top things, right? And it's debilitating. And so to think about this being implemented in workplace wellness programs, we have an entire day during FAM on corporate wellness and prevention, which is really important, not only to the culture of an organization, but to the health of the bottom line.
Yeah.
We've done some corporate wellness speaking together, but how cool would that be to have that as an offering? And we've, and that type of service that could be offered on location.
Yeah, absolutely. Like back pain is the most debilitating injury for anybody. And like I said, I'm very blessed and I feel lucky that I'm able to provide this to people. And like I said, like none of my clients currently in my roster, and some of them have been in my roster for 10 years. I've been doing this for 11 years now. Some of them from day one, no back pain. And that makes it's a game changer for those people, for sure.
Absolutely. And some of the things we've done together that I love and you're still doing, you on a golf course or at a field or in a gym, like you take this on the go with you, and you can. I know that you're getting really, really busy and you have plans to hopefully bring on more, but I think the accessibility from that lens is important to talk about as well. I mean, you can do this just about anywhere.
Yeah, and it's funny that you said that, because I just got an inquiry from one of a client. Her mom literally can't leave the house, and so she asked if I would bring my table. And I don't do that anymore. I used to be mobile in that way in terms of taking my table around. Now that I have my studio, I'm not. But I want to do this too, and I know I have another FST guy that does it as well, and I want to be able for people to know that it is doable for me to come to you or any other therapist. It's not it's definitely an option for people.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, because that accessibility piece is critically important. You don't need, although you have lots of tools, which we're going to come back and talk about, which is really cool, but you can, take it to someone, whether it be a corporation, a retirement community. It is such a powerful adjunctive care that is just getting started, which is super cool. All right, we're going to take a short break here, and when we come back, we're going to let Leslie stock your preventative health toolbox with some really cool tools that you can not only experience on her table, but some of them that you can actually experience at home yourself to improve your fascial health. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.